Hi, I'm Andrea Cline, and I'm going to talk a little bit about body position in your run, and a little bit of what I say is wrong body position in a run. I'll just come out and say it, it's wrong. For the most part, whatever way you're going to be turning, right, left, whatever, you want your inside hand a little bit up, your outside hand a little bit. Of course, we're talking about a run. So when I'm in a run, I'm two-handed in between my barrels. To my barrels, in between my barrels, and home, I'm riding two-handed. That's just how I ride. It's not wrong to be one-handed and stay on the horn. There's nothing wrong about that. I think your horse probably has to be a little more solid for that, to stay in between the bridle and a straight line. Some of the colts will fishtail when they're, just young horses, just kind of maybe looking off or whatever. But for the most part, staying in here for the older horse. But for me, and for what I'm going to talk about today, is I do ride two-handed to my approach in a barrel in between. As I'm coming up into my barrel, that will change slightly. My goal on any horse that comes in training is to stay right here, basically, if I'm looking at you straight on. I would like to turn that barrel with my hand pretty much in the middle of the rein. And if I make an X on my horse right here and just make a line down the center of her neck, I really kind of want my rein to be a little bit behind right here. And if you ever have to go forward, it's usually because your horse is starting to back off that barrel. You may have to actually go forward and squeeze to go forward. That's all timing issues, and that's probably another topic. However, for the most part, my goal in a turn is to run up into your turn, sit down, and not move. Because I've already taught my horse how to run and turn collected. So I'm just gonna basically melt down, go to my horn, and with my eyes, watch where again, I'm one step ahead of where that horse's feet should be in the turn. So I'm just gonna trot down on this mare here, and I'm gonna trot through the pattern and just tell you where my eyes are, where my hands are, and what my feet are doing. Now this particular horse here, I like her because she's not necessarily a rady horse, but she's not free. She'll just kind of run on up in there. So I'm gonna come up here, turn my barrel. My eye, as I'm turning the barrel, I'm always kind of looking up and out and over the outside ear. But it's always one step ahead, and I'm always moving my eye. I used to not move my eye. I used to lock it. I used to do this. I was real good at that. I was a professional at it. And what happens when I'd like to touch on that a little bit, because, and sometimes I still do it. That's just a personal habit of mine. And I see a lot of people do it. You come right here and then you look up. When you do that, the very first thing you do is step to the inside. And the correct position, you really want to stay in the center of your horse. And I found if you'll just keep your eye a little bit to the outside and up and just jumping along, your body position stays straighter. And it's my opinion, as a tall person, it's harder for a tall person. You got to be a little bit more precise in your riding because of the tallness. So, not to say if you're short that you're allowed to get away with it, because really, you should strive to ride correct all the time, and I know that I do. But anyways, I'm running up in here. My outside hand is down, my inside hand is up. I sit down in my saddle, and as you can see, my hand just kind of stays in the middle of that rein, and I look where I'm going. My eye is up to the outside. I'm letting that horse turn, and my hand stays still. I really don't have to turn her because I've already established that in the way I train my horses. So, on a left turn, as I'm approaching my barrel in a left turn, I'm approaching it and I'm running to it. My outside hand is down, my inside hand is up. I'm looking up over that outside ear, and I'm preparing myself for that turn. And as I make my turn, you can see my hand is up. I'm going to sit down. My hand really didn't change. It pretty much stayed the same. And I used a little bit of outside leg to get that horse to turn. And I just think on this horse it's a little bit easier to see my position than say on the other horse. But as you can, and I'll switch that around. So if I'm coming in, and that will also help on a horse that maybe drops, when you're keeping your hand up, and instead of wanting to cross over and lift to pull that horse off the barrel, which is 80% of what riders do, and that's just a number I'm throwing out there, but I don't really know the true percentage, but it's a lot of riders do that. Correct it. Here's how to correct it. Up, okay, up. You're holding that horse's shoulder up, okay, and you're keeping that horse's behind, following the front end into that horse. Up, okay, and that's all it is, just up. None of this. You don't have to do that. It's harder, and you're not going to get by doing that. Up, horn, turn, outside leg, okay, and then propel out of your turn. When you do that over and over and over, and you're doing it all the time, it becomes habit. It's easy. You run right up in there, hold that hand up, they just turn. And again, and you know, a lot of that goes to how you train your horse, but that's how I train these horses. And I just train them. That head is pointed to the ground. When they run, they're collected as they're running. Okay, so I can lean forward, sit back, turn, and it's, it all just starts to smooth out when you piece it together. And so that's basically why it's just important to keep your hands separated as you're coming into your turn, okay, and that can go to the right, but if I'm going to the right barrel, same thing, okay, my inside hand is up a little bit from my outside hand as I'm running in there, and that way when I go to make my turn and I need to sit down and get ready for that turn, that's all it is, and I'm already there. So you kind of want to visualize maybe a line going down the center of their neck, a line here, and ideally you'd like to stay a little bit behind this turn. Right hand needs to stay on this side, left hand needs to stay on this side. Break it down and think about it all the time. When you start thinking about it at a walk, pretty soon you can be able to do it at a trot, pretty soon you can do it at a lope, pretty soon you can do it at a run. But you can't do it if you don't do it ever. So start doing like that.